Felix Harper's workshop sat in a narrow alley off Canal Street, wedged between a pawn shop and a herbal medicine emporium whose windows smelled perpetually of ginseng and star anise. The sign above Felix's door said Harper & Sons Typewriter Service, though there were no sons, just Felix, 58, with jeweller's loops balanced on a beakish nose and a beard that perpetually clung to his flannel shirt like iron filings to a magnet. Business was thin in a city where glass screens multiplied hourly, but Felix survived on collectors, screen-weary novelists, and the occasional prop master from a film set. He liked the quiet, the coppery tick of springs loosening in his fingers, the soft stroke of a perfectly levelled type bar. Machines spoke to him in subtle mechanical dialects, and he prided himself on hearing every syllable. Late one Friday, as rain fretted against the roll-down gate, a courier appeared with a battered leather case. The work order was handwritten on creamy stationery from Madison & Cole, the advertising agency whose campaigns papered half the subway system. Rush service, the note commanded. Client, Simon Blake, senior copywriter. Issue, sticky ribbon advance, misaligned escapement. Felix, who thought of Madison & Cole as a place where adjectives went to become meaningless, set aside the half-disemboweled Remington on his bench and unbuckled the new arrival. Inside was an Underwood No. 5 from the early 30s, and a hard-used one at that. The platen rubber was glacier smooth, the drawband frayed, and two slugs, H and J, showed the slightest splay from an over-eager typist. To Felix, the damage read like marginalia in a biography. Whoever owned it hammered the keys with conviction, probably around 3 martinis a lunch. He sniffed, then paused. There was a faint citrus note clinging to the feed rollers, as though someone had wiped them with lemon oil rather than the usual mineral spirits. Odd, but not unheard of. He set to work, first removing the ribbon cover. The ink ribbon was an anachronism, a modern mylar cartridge rather than the cotton spools the Underwood expected. No wonder it jammed. Felix swapped in a fresh 2-color spool, black over red, tensioned it, and advanced a few clicks. Then habit took over. He rolled in a sacrificial sheet of onion skin and typed a pangram to check alignment. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, crisp and dark, marched across the page. Nothing remarkable there. Fixing the escapement was a matter of bending a single dog tooth back into true 5 minutes' labor. Yet the citrus smell nagged him, so he rolled the onion skin out, held it against the fluorescent light, and saw nothing. Blank white. He shrugged, dried the carriage clamp, and prepared an invoice. But curiosity scratched. Invisible ink, the childish kind, often used lemon juice. One brought the words out with heat. Felix fetched the travel iron he used to flatten curled ribbon spools, set it to low, and hovered it inches beneath the sheet. Faint ochre lines blossomed. They weren't handwritten. They were shaped like typed letters, but ghost-thin, as though impressed by keys that had taken a vow of silence. 4 slow passes of heat later, a second message swam under the visible pangram, aligned but not identical. Every word I stole was worth killing for. If you can read this, I am already free. Felix's pulse banged in his ears. The hidden capital letters were perfectly spaced, each a twin spectre to an impression somewhere deeper in the platen's memory. Someone had loaded the Underwood with a ribbon laced with invisible ink, typed a confession, stripped the page, swapped ribbons, and gone on business as usual. The mechanical residue, a mixture of citric acid and starch, he guessed, had transferred from type slug to platen to fresh paper when Felix struck his test sentence. Engineers called it ghosting, the machine's past intruding on its present. The workshop phone rang. "Harper and Sons," he managed. "This is Evelyn Kerr," said a brisk voice. "I'm creative director at Madison & Cole. Mr. Blake asked if the Underwood could be returned tonight. He's under deadline." Felix swallowed. "I haven't finished regulation testing." "Bill us for rush. I'll send a car." When the line clicked dead, Felix unfolded a newspaper he kept for oil drips and scanned the crime blotter. Nothing about Simon Blake. Maybe the confession was theatre, copywriter's whimsy. Yet the words "already free" felt terminal. Storm clouds had muscled out daylight by the time a black town car hissed to the curb. A driver knocked, offered Felix a manila envelope. "Payment in full," he said. Felix hesitated, then passed over the case. He'd taped the lemon-ghosted onion skin beneath the felt lining, curious whether anyone would discover his discovery. As the car swallowed the Underwood, doubt clenched him. Had he just erased evidence of what, exactly? The answer arrived 12 hours later with Detective Annika Duarte of the 12th Precinct. She stood in his doorway, blinking at the ordered chaos. Platen cores stacked like cannonballs, cleaning brushes sprouting from mugs. Her badge hung from the neck of a scarlet turtleneck. "Mr. Harper, you serviced an Underwood for one Simon Blake yesterday." "Correct," he said, heart dipping. "Blake was found early this morning in his Gramercy loft, dead." She paused. Somebody bashed his skull with a brass desk lamp. His Underwood sat in the middle of the coffee table like a centerpiece. Felix removed his spectacles and polished the useless right lens. "I suppose you want to know if I left prints. We found yours where we'd expect. Platen knobs, ribbon cover." She stepped deeper inside, eyes skimming the benches. "But we also found something stranger." She produced a photograph. The onion skin Felix had hidden, now sealed inside an evidence sleeve, its sepia words blaring under forensic luminescence. He exhaled. "I wondered if anyone would notice. Care to explain?" So he did. Lemon scent, heat test, the hidden confession. Duarte listened with calm interest, scribbling names: Evelyn Kerr, courier, town car. "Looks like someone typed that message, swapped ribbons, then set things up so whoever next serviced the machine would bring it out," she summarized. "Except they didn't bank on me choosing onion skin," Felix said. "Regular Bond might not have picked up enough citric residue." Duarte tapped the photo. "Ghost or no, the confession claims Blake killed someone. Do you know of a prior homicide tied to him? I don't even know what accounts he writes." Embarrassed, Felix added, "And men aren't my usual dinner companions." "Fair, but someone script-doctored a murder scene." She thanked him, left a card, and promised updates. Felix tried to resume work, yet every carriage ding now sounded like a death knell. Blake, according to a quick internet search, specialized in product launches, sneakers, streaming services, a viral breakfast cereal jingle. Nothing murderous. He clicked deeper and found rumors of a campaign plagiarized from an indie boutique. Lawsuits threatened, then vanished under settlement gags. Could every word I stole refer to that? The rumor mill named one whistleblower, junior copywriter Callie James, fired 8 months prior. Felix printed the article and tucked it beside the Annika Duarte's card. Then he did something he rarely attempted: field work. He locked the shop, buttoned his coat, and headed uptown. Madison & Cole occupied 3 glass floors overlooking Bryant Park. The receptionist had a voice like cellophane and tiny spikes of contempt for walk-ins. But when Felix flashed the evidence photo and said police liaison, doors opened. Advertising people loved drama as long as it wasn't billable. Evelyn Kerr met him in an aquarium blue conference room. She was mid-40s, couture sharp, with hair parted precisely enough to slice paper. Detective Duarte couldn't come in person, she asked. She's collecting CCTV footage, Felix lied. I'm helping trace the typewriter's chain of custody. Evelyn steepled fingers. Simon adored that relic, said he couldn't brainstorm without the clack. Her gaze flicked to the photo. Invisible ink. God, that's theatrical. Did you read it before police confiscated it? I caught the gist. Her smile was quick chlorine. Simon never killed anyone. He could barely swat a mosquito. Do you know Callie James? A shadow passed behind her eyes. The disgruntled junior? She settled. End of story. Maybe not for whoever wrote this confession. Look, Evelyn said, leaning forward. Simon was brilliant but fragile. Anxiety, panic attacks. He drank. I'm not giving you corporate spin when I say he might have typed that as... She sought a phrase. As a cry for help. Lemon juice invisible ink is a novel approach to therapy. We're ad people, she said. Hyperbole pays the rent. Felix thanked her and left before the conversation spooled further into jargon. In the elevator, a junior art director whispered to a colleague, "We'll need a commemorative post on social by noon." Another responded, "Make it authentic but on brand." Death, Felix thought, as marketing opportunity. Outside, he dialed Detective Duarte. "Kerr's dodgy," he reported. "Something about a plagiarism suit." "Already on it," Duarte said. Tech crawled Blake's laptop. He documented lawsuits and blackmail demands. Someone blackmailed Blake. Reverse. Blake blackmailed Evelyn Kerr. She wrote the disputed copy. He shielded her, then squeezed her for bonuses, stock, hush contracts. Duarte paused. "Makes motive, but we need forensic proof." Felix's mouth dried. "The Underwood. We dusted it top to bottom." Felix pictured the machine in his mind, the microscopic splay of H and J, evidence of years of pressure. Then a thought flared. When a typist hits keys, impressions pit the platen rubber minutely. Over time, different hands produce distinct patterns. Forensic analysts once dated espionage communiques that way. If Kerr had used Blake's Underwood recently, her imprint might sit atop older layers. He hurried to Duarte's precinct with schematics and an idea. "Let me run a raking light test over the platen," he proposed. "We'll photograph every rotational degree. Compare strike depth for the hidden confession versus Blake's usual work. If they differ..." Duarte grinned. "You just volunteered as consulting expert." They set up in the evidence lab that night. Under oblique LED slabs, the platen revealed a lunar landscape. Felix oriented the confession page's line, spacing to a segment of rubber. Microscopic calipers measured indent depth, average 0.019 millimeters. He sampled a routine email Blake had typed 2 weeks before, courtesy of onion skin drafts found in his trash. Those indentations averaged 0.012 millimeters, shallower. Different strength, Felix concluded. Possibly a different typist. "Male versus female?" an officer asked. "More like weight of keystroke," Felix said. "Many variables. But notice the shift key wear. The confession uses fewer capitals than Blake's style. He loved mid-sentence emphatics. Whoever wrote the invisible message used only necessary caps." Duarte compared notes. "Kerr writes corporate decks, minimal caps." She made a call. A warrant landed. 2 hours later, police searched Evelyn Kerr's apartment. They found cotton gloves flecked with dried lemon pulp and an aftermarket underwood ribbon still half soaked in a citric solution. In her freezer, among pints of mint gelato, lay a spent mylar ribbon sealed in plastic. Kerr, summoned downtown, sat in interrogation behind mirrored glass, mascara unflinching. Felix watched from observation as Duarte paced. Simon helped you. When the plagiarism threat surfaced, he took the bullet, negotiated hush money, then bled you monthly. You snapped. I negotiated, Kerr said evenly. People negotiate every day. You typed a confession in invisible ink and planted it for us to find, framing Simon for some unseen murder, so his death would look like suicide or retaliation. Duarte flipped photos. Ribbon, gloves, gelato evidence. But you underestimated a repairman. Kerr's stare sliced towards the mirror, toward Felix, though she couldn't see him. I underestimated sentimentality, she corrected. If Simon hadn't insisted on that rust bucket, none of this would stick. Felix felt oddly hollow. Machines saved, machines damned. The interrogation continued, but he stepped into the hallway, the hum of vending machines filling his ears. Duarte found him there later. Ada will file murder too, she said. She swung the lamp from behind, staged the apartment, left a confession pointing everywhere but herself. Your Platon analysis sealed chain of events. Felix nodded, exhausted. Underwood testified. Industry lost a good mechanic, Duarte teased. Not yet. These old beasts still need voices tuned. Weeks passed, rain quit. Collectors came, attracted by news articles nicknaming Felix the typewriter whisperer who cracked a murder. One afternoon, an envelope slid through his mail slot. No return address, his name typed in crisp black. Inside lay a brand-new silk ribbon and a note, lemon-scented. Machines remember everything, so do I. A friend. Felix lifted the paper against the light. Nothing surfaced. He smiled grimly, fed it into an old royal, and hammered a response destined for no one but the Platon itself. So do I. Then he wound the ribbon onto an empty spool, labelled it Kerr, and placed it among dozens of others in a locking cabinet. Evidence, memory, warning. The shop returned to its heartbeat of metallic ticks, but everything sounded slightly louder, as though the typewriters had discovered they could speak not just stories, but truths, and sometimes those truths were lethal. On nights when the alley quieted and the neon pawnshop sign flickered, Felix would pause mid-repair, palms black with ink, and remember Simon Blake's invisible confession ghosting onto that onion skin. Every word I stole was worth killing for. In a city awash with screens that forgot things the instant they scrolled off the edge, a 70-year-old machine had preserved a whisper of guilt longer than any digital record. That thought filled Felix with equal parts pride and dread. But he kept working, because a Platon out of round still needed truing, a drawband still needed setting, and stories, honest or otherwise, still needed a vessel willing to hold them faithfully forever.